Welcome everybody. Josh Rincon here for Avance Latino Program Director. Super excited. We have two special guests. We have Carlos with us, but then we also have Jason Hamilton. Hey Junior, I hear myself, FYI, but I'm super excited that we're here together with all of you guys. What's up, Jason? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm excited that you're joining us today. I think this is the first time you join us in these. Let's talk about money. That's what we're gonna call it from now moving forward.
Oh, and that introduction was awesome. I felt like I was walking onto the baseball field and I was about to go hit a home run right there, man. That was great.
Awesome, awesome. And then Junior, how are you?
Good. You can hear no more echo, right?
No more echo. It's
Okay,
okay.
good.
It's part of
Yeah.
it. Sometimes we got some audio stuff happening, but it's all good. The good thing is you guys are all here with this, and we're gonna talk about money. We're gonna talk about different articles and stuff that it's gonna relate to your life. And we got an expert in the house. We got Jason Hamilton. That's right. And fun fact, he is our brother. He married our sister, and we love him. He's an awesome guy. Thank you for joining us today. And I want to go ahead and
Anytime.
start. Let me see. Let's do it. So, like I said, we're talking about money, and we're going to be talking about different articles, different things that's going to help you in your life, definitely relatable to your life. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is this is 26-year-old, his name. He basically is a magician, magician. So he does magic. He makes $78,000 a year doing magic shows and different stuff like that. But we don't want to talk too much about what he does. But what we do want to talk about is his budget. This breaks down his monthly budget, how much he makes, and where he's allocating everything, his investments and everything. So right off the bat, what do you guys think about this budget? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it a healthy budget?
So he makes 78,000 a year, right?
Pre-tax, yeah.
So that's 6,500 before tax. So what it's showing there, the 5429 is after he pays his taxes, right?
Correct. Hmm.
So he's putting away $1,450 to investments. That's the first thing I see, which is great. And he's also saving $1,000. So he's saving almost half of his income, which is great. But it seems like a couple things might be a little bit low, possibly. Um, food, $255 a month. I mean, he's keeping things tight. He probably eats at home, for all of his food. Don't think he can eat out on that. Utilities looks fine. Rent, he probably shares an apartment, I believe, at
Hmm.
1150. But overall, to me, it looks, pretty decent.
I feel like I feel like this chart looks like a typical 26-year-old, you know? Once you throw in kids, you throw in family and other, I'm pretty sure his food would expand a lot more and other stuff.
Yeah, the at 26 though to make $78,000, that's pretty good. I would say that's on the higher side for the average, but that's still it's possible, definitely.
Yeah, and then he says to specifically break down for the investments, he puts 500 into a Roth IRA,
Which is good.
500 towards an indexed. I don't know. What do you think about this, Jason? I saw this. I was like, oh, 500 toward an indexed universal life insurance policy, and
You
450
know,
to cryptocurrency.
me personally, I don't really like those products. I think you can have better options. But what he might be doing is since he's self-employed, he doesn't have like a traditional 401k, or 403b, which is a plan that you can get at work and you can contribute up to $20,500 per year now for that. So his he has a couple options, but his main option is going to be his Roth IRA, which is only $6,000. So he's putting money there. He's putting money in Coinbase and the cryptocurrency. It looks like down there. And so it looks like he's using it as like another savings plan. So, those policies are okay once you're maxing out all of your other resources. But if you have a 401k at work, you should probably put money there first, I would say. But, I don't hate them, but I think a lot of people will invest in a universal life insurance policy first before they're doing their Roth IRA or before they're doing the 401k. And that I would not agree with at that point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's saving 1,000 just in cash every single month too. So,
Right.
do you think that's a good amount, or he should be putting more towards his investments if he had the option of a 401k maybe?
So let's break this down because not like most people, let's say, aren't going to make $78,000 at 26. Okay.
Yeah.
So no matter how much you make, the way I like to think about it is in percentages, okay? Because that makes it kind of equal, regardless of how much you make, whether you make $30,000 or $300,000. Percentages are a good way to think about things. So let's look at some percentages. So if he makes 45, 29, then he's saving in cash about 18% of his money in just cash savings. Okay, so that's really high. Most people, struggle to save that much even altogether. So that's a very high number. Not bad, but still, average very high. So 1450. So then he's saving 26% of his money to investments, almost 27%. So if you take that,
That's good. We have someone like Jason.
he's saving about 44% of his money after tax. Okay, so that's a big chunk of money. But at 26, I probably could have done the same thing because I didn't have a house payment, I didn't have a lot of responsibilities, and I was just getting out of school, at that point. So this is the time to save that sort of money. But let's just be, really honest that most people can't quite save that much. So we can't be
Mhm.
mad at him because I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
But he is on the higher end of savings. But this is all good stuff. We're not going to be, jealous of him. We just got to think about the average person. So if you can save 44% of your money, you can actually be financially independent in about, let me take a look here, maybe 13 years. But go ahead and ask your next question while I look this up.
Yeah, and I know Junior said this is a typical 26-year-old budget. It's not. Most 26-year-olds are not saving this much or putting that
sorry.
much in investments.
When,
Yeah.
when I was talking about food, I'm
Oh,
like
okay, okay,
250. It's
Well,
like that's like.
to be
I
honest,
wonder, I
most of
wonder
my
if he's
friends,
single. I wonder if
most of my friends would be the opposite: 250 in investments and 1450 in food,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
1,000 in a car. That's how I would see the average. Yeah.
Like when it comes to how you allocate your money, like I can really tell by looking at how someone spends their money what they value the most.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of young people especially don't understand the power of saving early and the power of compound interest, which I know you've talked about here before. And so it's like if you just make one change like that, right? Instead of spending 250 eating out and 1450, 250 eating out, I'm sorry, 250 in savings and 1450 eating out, you say 1450 and then cut your eating out to 250, you will be wealthy very, very quickly. But it takes a lot of, delayed gratification, personal control, and a lot of people just want to live for today, so that can be a challenge. But
Hmm.
overall, I like his budget. I think it's great if you can do it.
Yeah, I think we can all agree this is a great budget, and hats off to him. He's doing a great job.
Yeah.
He's doing a really great job.
And you said that his job is a magician.
Yeah.
So he must be making a killing as a magician.
That's a
Well, $78,000 is what we say $6,500 a month, before tax. So he's making about $1,500 per week, $1,600 per week. So if he works, 5 days, let's say he's making $300 a day, a little bit over. So that's pretty good.
Mhm.
That's a pretty reasonably high number. So if you work 8 hours, then that's about
You're trying to figure out what is hourly.
$37 an hour he's averaging. So, the one thing, I actually read that article, and the one thing to take away though is like the power of working in your gift under self-employment, right?
Hmm.
There's two really powerful concepts there. And like if you want to go earn, work at a job, like right now, okay, minimum wage is now what, $15 in LA or something like that. People are happy to get $16, $17. They feel like that's great, which is not bad. Like my first job was $4.25 at Subway slinging sandwiches. Okay, so it's 4 times that. But if you have a skill or a talent and you can sell that and give people a great experience like he's doing with magic, there's so much potential to earn way more than just an average job. So it actually is a pretty low wage for an entrepreneur, but overall picture, it's a great wage, when you look at the whole picture. So I it's kind of how you look at it, I think, is
Yeah.
um, is what I want to take away from that.
You respect the hustle because he's hustling. Because I know I read in the article he basically lost everything when the pandemic started, and he rebounded, and he's doing great for himself. So
Yep.
that's really good. It's really good. And something new that's because of the American Rescue Plan. So the last stimulus bill that was passed, they expanded the earned income credit. So usually people can only get that if you have if had someone as a dependent on your taxes. But now it's capped at $21,430 that you could actually receive the credit. So I know people who have actually got it, which was a surprise to them. But the average is 1 in 3 young adults. So I'm assuming 18 to 24-year-olds would be getting an average of close to $1,000, $800. Man, that's a good amount of money. I think Coinbase is going to be off. They're going to get a lot of new members. Junior was saying that Gucci might sell a bag for $800 just to convince people to buy it.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, let's talk about this. So, this is for people that are pretty low income on average, right? I think it's like $21,000 or lower if you're
Yes.
a single filer. So, this is basically almost 5% of their income. 4%, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, 3.8%. So almost 4% of their income. So most people in these situations, if you're like an adult on your own, you probably need this money to eat, But if you're someone who's still living at home or maybe have a lot of roommates, this is a great opportunity to like start that investment fund.
Mm-hmm.
Start either your emergency fund so you can put a little bit of money aside, to get started there. Or if you have some savings already, maybe open a Roth IRA. That could be a good idea too.
Oh, yeah. I think that's $800. I think would come in very handy. I don't know. What do you think, Junior?
Yeah, especially because this is for low income, so hopefully it helps them either pay bills, pay down credit card, or just help out with everyday use, which is the most expensive part of anyone's budget is food. So if they can help their family, why not?
Yeah, and most college students are definitely making around that income. If they're working part time, they have classes. They could even go to paying off their their classes. That way, they don't have to go into debt. So, but yeah, if you have that extra money, that extra income, like Jason said, it can start their first brokerage account, and open up that Roth IRA, whatever they want to do. But yeah, that's awesome. This is something I don't know if it's gonna continue for 2022, 2023. Obviously, they're gonna want to pass
It
to
was in
extend it.
it was in Biden's new plan, but that stalled. So it might only be for this year. So definitely do something positive with that money.
Mm-hmm. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of that money because it might not be here next year. And this is something that's probably been in everyone's, conversations.
It's been on your mind.
Yeah.
The cars, I don't think anyone else. I'm not even
It is.
talking about it.
I don't know about you guys, but I mean, it's inflation has gone up. It's the highest ever it's been since 1982. But is it something to be super scared about? Is it just something that's obviously it's because of the pandemic and everything that's going on? But these charts are very helpful to better understand what is 7.5% compared to where it was a couple months ago, or just even at the beginning of 2019, we see it was a little bit under 2%. So, what are you guys' thoughts about this? Is this high interest? I mean, this is the highest you've ever seen inflation in your life, right, Jason? I don't think you've ever seen higher than that, or
No, and so what's challenging about this is like the way inflation is calculated, it's from like a basket that the government can kind of pick from, of different things, to make it 7.5. And in my opinion, for most of the things the average person is dealing with on a regular basis, it's probably much higher than 7.5% in reality.
mm-hmm.
For example, we eat a lot of the same things, regularly, just like we get the same organic chicken or the same fruit. And the chicken we were buying, call it a year ago, maybe year and a half, for $7.50 is now $9.50 or $10. So that's 20% higher, maybe 30% higher, depending on when it is. It's come down a little bit in the last month or so, but like that. And then, Josh, you've been looking for a car for a while, and something about used cars are up like some crazy number, 37%,
50% since the beginning of the pandemic.
Okay. Gas is up 25%. That's affecting the average person. So when they bring in this whole 7.5, they can kind of cherry pick a basket of things. So that's really below what I think the average person on a day-to-day basis is feeling. But the answer is yes. It's the highest it's been since 1982. Um, but we've had, a long period of pretty low inflation as well. It's averaged about 2%, the last, 10, 20 years, somewhere in that range, 2 to 2.5. So it's been very consistent. So I do have faith it will get back under control, but it's going to have some pain in between.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we raise interest rates, well, it's going to make home purchases more expensive. It's probably going to slow down the economy. It's going to make buying a car on a loan more expensive. If you're going to get a loan for a car. So, but if a big part of the problem too is we printed so much money that inflation is essentially a tax, but it's like it doesn't show up on your tax return.
Mm-hmm.
The way taxes are, it's either on the front end where you pay, a higher percentage, or on the back end through inflation where your dollars buy less, essentially. So this is how our economy works, and it's just been like this forever. But it's a big number for most people.
Oh yeah, and I was gonna say most people, like you said, they don't see it. Sorry, my laptop was about to die. Forgot to connect it. But um, what was I gonna say? Salaries, raises. Is this the time for people to ask for big raises or to take advantage of this time? 20, 30% raises, or you think they should stick to the 3 to 5%?
I mean, my opinion is this is your time to like squeeze your employer if you're working for somebody else, because there's a lot of people that don't want to work right now, but there's also a lot of people, and I understand this, by the way, something like 55% of people do not want to go back to a traditional office and work in an office 5 days a week. I think a lot of people got a chance to realize that they're just as productive, if not more productive, working from home. I feel like I'm more productive most of the time. Some days I get distracted, but most of the time I get a lot more done here. And that's become a big challenge for some of these big corporations, especially the middle managers, who we're finding out maybe aren't that needed. If you don't need somebody in your office micromanaging you all day, making sure you're doing things and you can get your stuff done, well, what position do they have? So they are pushing for this to get people back in so that they feel like they have a purpose or something they need to do. So I think there's a lot of dynamics going on here, obviously, but I think we're going through a period now of it's going to be an interesting challenge, because I think most people don't want to go back. Most people don't want to. I know I personally wouldn't want to. So if you do go back, then I would definitely be pushing for a higher increase in pay,
Mm-hmm.
because your life is less convenient than it was before. And many people are just going to quit. I think it's like 65% of people said they'll just quit if their employer forces them to go back. So, getting as much pay as you can definitely is something.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be confident, though, to
Mm-hmm.
do that. I think some people aren't confident enough to do that. But this is the time to do that for sure, to answer your question.
Yeah, I totally agree. And all three of us here basically are working from home. I guess kind of hybrid, some of us. But does anyone want to go back work in person every single day? I don't think any of us wants to.
For me, it's only the culture. I do miss that. Working from home, it's nice and all, but having that, let's say, like for us, for our company, you want to hire two new people. How are they going to understand our culture? How are we going to train them every day? Like, oh, this is how we do this. So I think like it makes sense to have a hybrid system, where like, hey, if today you want to work from home, work from home. But there are some moments where like, hey, we need to build that culture. We need to build, this is how we do certain things, whether for me is in film and editing. This is how we structure our folders, projects, what I would handle this. So I feel like it depends, each department.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of jobs that are going to be able to just work from home.
Well, I think you have a good point, because I just hired an assistant part-time. And if we're in the office, I could probably train a lot more and get a lot more done in the time we have together. So I could definitely hear what you're saying. So we've talked about that, like a hybrid, 2-3 days in, 2-3 days out, something like that. But you know, a
It's
big
tough.
company, like a big bank type of building, corporate office, wearing suits every day, like that's a different kind of discomfort. Your position is like you guys have fun working together, So I guess it depends on where you're at too in your
Mm-hmm.
career, but
Yeah.
I can see what you're saying.
And then if you guys would just look at the chart, the next chart I was going to show you guys is another thing that went up in cost, which is the average rent price that's gone up. Definitely last year alone went up a lot. And Um, I know he had shared with me an example of, his previous apartment and how much it went up from when they left. I don't know if you want to share about that, but definitely in California it's getting tough, and I don't know if it's gonna cool down once we see the interest rate hikes and all that, but from the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell. But it's just so interesting to see how it was.
I think it, like, talking back about the inflation numbers, what's really interesting is, I don't know if you guys see it, all my friends are still spending exactly the same. Like, inflation doesn't exist. They're still going out, even road trips more than ever, or buying the extra bags. So I think at the end of the day, like, we almost have the power, but I feel like we're just willing that these prices keep going up, and we don't not like, you know what? I think this is a little too much. Like, I think in the previous slide, I sent you something that we're going to get to about Chipotle, how they want to continue raising their prices. And it's just like, are we going to be able to be willing to pay for $15 a Chipotle bowl?
Well, but here's so okay. I think there's two things that you said. Like, people are going out and doing stuff. I think people are really just over being inside, and so we're going to see a big burst in that. But at some point, people's credit will run out, their stimulus checks will run out, or whatever it may be. But I remember going to Chipotle recently, and I'm like, what the heck is like $12 for what I normally would get for like 8 or 9?
I know.
So this is what people don't understand. Like, when you want to raise things like minimum wage, it's not just this magical button you press and now the corporation is going to take less profits. It's not how it works. They're going to raise their prices, and then us as consumers are going to pay higher prices. And if we're okay with that, then great, then everybody's happy. But I know myself, I'm like, oh, that was pretty, a little bit more than I wanted to spend on a burrito, $12. So I probably would back off a little bit personally, from going there another time. So I would lower my trips to Chipotle to do that. But the rent thing is interesting, especially in California, where we had all these, the landlords could not evict people, right? And it's still
Hmm.
going, I believe, here till like a couple more months at least, right? At least through March. And so what's going to happen there? All the money they lost is getting spread out among all the other people that are paying. They're supposed to get the money back from the state at some point, and maybe they will. But the place, to your point, Josh, that I was living in, we didn't get our rent raised, but the same apartment before we moved to our house that we were paying about $2,400 for is now renting for $3,200. Right? And we talked to the lady where Dreama gets her eyebrows done. She lives in Irvine in an apartment. In just 1 year, her rent, it was like a 3-bedroom that they have for their family, went from $3,000 a month to $3,500 a month. Okay,
Damn.
that's in one cycle, of increase. So inflation can be good if you're an owner. Okay, if you own stocks, you have money in your 401k and mutual funds, ETFs, or stocks, or if you own a home, homes went up about 16% last year. So you made a lot of money. If you own stocks, the stock market was over 20%. So it depends where you're at in this, in the game of finance. And so this is why we encourage everybody through, our programs and through everything you guys do at Avance Latino and Ideal. If you can get started and get some money, in your 401k, you can participate in the growth.
Hmm.
But if you're somebody who's just working a minimum wage job, and you might got $1 more, $3 more an hour. Okay, so you make $36 more a day, but your gas, food, and rent went up more than that altogether. It's going to be really hard to get ahead. So going back to our magician friend at the beginning, like really understanding your numbers, and maybe you can't say 44%. That's okay. That's not normal. That's much above average. But most people can save at least 5 or 10% of their income, and they just are not managing it well, and they're choosing not to. And like you said, it's eating out, car payments, and just other things like getting a new iPhone every year or super fancy clothes. But most of the time, what I see, it's eating out and car payments. Those are the two
Hmm.
killers for most people.
Yeah, it's killing a lot, definitely. And basically what Jason said, save to invest, save that money like the hashtag says right there. Invest it into assets, home, stocks, and all that. And you're going to be in a good place, whether inflate, even in the times of inflation, because we've seen that, like you said, it's returned a 20% return. That's really, really, really good. And
What's the percentage of people that actually hold valuable assets, though? It's
Um,
like pretty
it's
low, isn't it, for
no,
like the
it's
regular
over
person?
50%. I think it's like 55% of people that own at least some stocks.
Mm.
But like, there's been a lot of research done on this, and there's some things that say a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck or whatever. But after working in a nonprofit for 6 years now, doing financial coaching, I don't really believe that for probably, most of those people, let's just say the majority.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there's probably 15 to 20% of people that are literally living paycheck to paycheck, but the other 25% that aren't participating, don't have any assets or owning anything, just are missing the financial literacy. You know, like they don't know what to do, they don't know where to start, or how to get, how to make that first step. So that's why I love the workshops that you guys are putting on, because it helps people get that start. But
Mm-hmm.
that's when you look at the research, it really shows that the far majority of those people that are not owning anything, it's just a gap in knowledge versus a gap in an ability to like to start and to save.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we do what we do here at the nonprofit. We teach, we empower the community. And yeah, it's just awesome, even just have you, engineer, here, all of us here together. I'm sure people are learning. They're going to learn some stuff even through this
I'm pretty
conversation.
I'm pretty sure Jason remembers on my 25th birthday. He made me to go on my computer, open a Betterment account, and he's like, just start today. He's like, whatever you have, just start today. And I remember I was like, there you go. It's automated. I don't think about it.
So that's the key. Okay, automation, right? So this is why the 401k is so powerful. If people have this at work, to just sign up and just get the match, like just do it. Don't even think about it, because I guarantee you'll be able to pay your bills. Right? But the power of automating your savings, you have 19 times more likelihood, from the research I've read, to hit a goal if you automate that savings.
Mm-hmm.
19 times. That's a big number. So if people just start putting in, take $100 a month, and there's so many apps today. It's like, we didn't have this stuff. You know what I mean? What didn't have this when I was growing up, so I didn't know anything about it. But if you just go on Betterment and just say, I want to save $100, they'll tell you exactly, like they'll put it in the right funds for you, the right ETFs. And all you have to do is just let it deduct from your account every single month and increase it whenever you can increase it. At least increase it once a year minimum. But this is like, there's no excuse anymore,
Mm-hmm.
except like your lack of willingness to just
Discipline.
get online, sign up, and just start. For most people, and so that's what we try to help people do, is just do that. And not everybody has a big brother that's going to be like, sit down, open your account, put
On
money
your
in. But
birthday.
right, but 20 years from now, you're going to be like, damn, if I didn't
Yeah,
do that, I
yeah,
wouldn't have been here. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's because
hopefully,
I think
go
like
ahead.
sorry, it's because they don't really do a good job, either the schools or like my generation. My dad didn't really know about this stuff, so it's like if we only knew about this sooner, that's why we like helping what we're doing with high schoolers and people that are in college, because it's like, look, get them excited. Look at these numbers. If you just compound, and then boom, you're comfortable. You could do whatever you want once you have that savings, and that's the hard part though, making them realize, like, look, in the long run it's worth it. And that was my problem. I was like, I'll start later. I'm only 22, 23.
Yeah, we should do a workshop on the difference, and I have some slides on this, but on the difference of when you start saving, on how
Mm.
big of a difference it can be. And it's like easily hundreds of thousands of dollars by waiting 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're only putting 2,000 a year away, which is like not even $200, it can cost you almost $200,000 by the time you're retired if you never increased your savings amount. But the schools, it's tough, because the schools have like their own things they want to teach about. And honestly, like if too many people are too successful, then it could make there be less government jobs, to be honest, because people won't need that. And then they won't want to pay as much taxes, because they start to realize they can get out of these situations if they just focus and save and invest. And, we spend time in Mexico. You don't have these options when you're in another country. Like the US has a system that everybody can participate in if they choose to. And it's not the norm, like Dreamer says, it's not the norm, but it needs to be the norm, right? Like, why isn't it the norm?
Mm-hmm.
That the minute you turn 18, you open a Roth IRA. If you have a job, you have to have a job of some sort. But if you have income of some sort, or if your parents have a business, they can hire you and pay you, even if you're a young kid, and open a Roth IRA for you and put money in. But this should be something that is part of our culture, and it is something that is not really even a question. Like China's average savings rate, I think, is like 10 or 15%. The U.S. is less than like 3. You
Yeah.
know, so they're very successful financially overall in China compared to what we are here. But it's the culture. It's not a whatever thing it is. It's just part of the culture. So we need to change that because obviously the government's not going to do it for us. Is how I look at
Hmm.
it.
But
But
I do think like Josh's generation, like I feel like we're all kind of like in different generations.
Yeah.
Josh's generation is a little better with finance. Mine, it's really funny because sometimes I get my friends tell me, "Oh, I saw Josh's video. I didn't even know you could do that in savings or open this or how do you do that?" But then I see people his age, they actually know about that a lot sooner and they're actually putting it to practice either in because what's that Robinhood? Because of Robinhood and all these other apps that they
Coinbase.
well,
Coinbase that they got really introduced
TikTok,
to. Hmm.
YouTube, all these like YouTube especially, it's everything you need to know. I mean, you have to search through a lot of stuff that's kind of garbage, but everything you need to know about saving and investing is on YouTube. It's free. So that's to
Hmm.
your point, Carlos. Is like there was no YouTube when I was growing up. I think it came around what 2007.
And it was
So
just pranks.
I was 20. Well, it was cat videos when it first turned on for me. So I was like, what is this weird place, you know?
Yeah.
But now the information's there, and I just went on TikTok a couple weeks ago for the first time, and if you type in finance, there's actually some pretty decent information there. For the top videos, it's pretty good.
Did you see this guy?
Especially if you follow, what are you, Joshua Rincon over there, or is it? I
Josh
forget.
Rincon.
Josh
Josh
Rincon on
Rincon.
TikTok. If you just follow him, you'll be, a millionaire by the time you're retired for sure, no
Not
question.
millionaire by next week.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it's all good
But you're
stuff we're
right.
talking here, and I'm glad we're talking about this, and that's why we want to push our programs towards the high schools. If the high schools are going to do it, hey, that's okay. They're doing the education. We'll teach the finance part aspect out of it.
That's what I see. It's kind of like that story of the guy who goes to an island. He's like, nobody has shoes. I can't sell shoes here. We have all the workshops and all that to go to the schools and be like, oh my God, you guys need to learn about investing, how to save for the rest of your life. So it's like a huge market that Avance Latino can go and teach to these young kids.
Mhm.
So I see that as a huge opportunity.
Hmm. Huge opportunity, and not really to switch on what we were talking about. Congratulations to LA Rams. I know they won the Super Bowl this Sunday. I
You
know
only watched it, huh?
none of us really are into football. I know Jason's you're UFC. Me and Junior like soccer, but I like the halftime shows usually. But the one interesting thing I wanted to talk about real fast is, believe it or not, the people that perform during the halftime show, they don't get paid at all to perform. They actually, for example, The Weeknd last year, the artist The Weeknd dropped $7 million of his own money for the show. Now, why would he do that? Right after he did the show, his music sales soared by 385%. And he was one of the top songs, The Blinding Lights. That song was everywhere on TikTok, YouTube, everywhere for like almost all of last year. And it was a top song worldwide. So this is basically like reinvesting into their business and getting a return, a bigger return, even though they have to pay for it. I know like Jason growing his business, he had to invest a lot into his business in order to grow it. But it's just something I didn't know about that. Reading this article, I didn't know. I thought they would get paid. I was like, oh no, they don't.
So who spends more, the musician or the commercials then?
The commercials on average, I think it was 6.5 million per commercial, 30-second
So
commercial.
the Weeknd spent more than. He
Yeah.
spent double that.
But
Double that.
the benefit is the exposure, right?
Mhm.
So is it expensive if you get 10 times the exposure you normally get, but maybe you pay 2 million normally, you're going to pay 3 times as much, but maybe you get 10 or 20 times the exposure. So it's not a bad deal. And this is like very similar to the power of social media, right? For if you're a business owner and you're not doing something on social media, like you're kind of hurting yourself in a sense. It's the same concept where you're going to get in front of a lot of people that are all in one place for free, essentially. You might even have to pay for some advertising, to get some ads going, but it's a similar concept. So the top artists understand the power of exposure. And so obviously if he's putting in 7 million the weekend, he's going to make more than 7 million in return is what he's expecting at least, over time. And I know this halftime show, it had Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem. Well, recent news was Snoop Dogg just bought Death Row Records, right? He picked it up out of bankruptcy. So what do you think he's trying to do? He just bought that. he's going to go get exposure, and he's going to try to ramp up that music label again. Because back that, so talk about my day, I had the album, okay, called The Chronic, not the other stuff. The album called The Chronic, from Snoop Dogg, and I had it on a tape, bro. Okay,
Oh
cassette
wow.
tape. That's when it came out, bro. It was on tape. It did have CDs, but that came out like a little bit later.
My car still
So,
has tape.
well, we had the tape back then, and so Death Row's, that these people have been around for a while. And they're like in their 50s, But this made me feel old because if you think about all the old halftime shows, right? It's always like, oh, it's like Madonna, the Rolling Stones. Like, who are these old people? But now it's people from my generation. So you're like, wait a second, who's really the old people? Is it me or was it people watching Rolling Stones? But it was a good show, and it's good to see them still doing their thing. Hey,
I was
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast that say that the reason they're all like, how come they don't have young artists that much? The halftime show, and they were saying how football slowly and slowly is getting less and less the younger generation. The younger generation is going all to like video games and all this other stuff, so they're losing.
metaverse.
Yeah, and yeah, all that eventually.
UFC is the biggest sport now, I think. Overall.
More eyeballs,
Yeah, and
more
soccer.
like hype. Yeah, soccer because it's global, like you said. But I think Cristiano Ronaldo has the most fans on social media.
400 million followers.
Yeah, so soccer definitely has a big presence in the
It's
world.
crazy.
Yeah, it's huge and it's very interesting. And yeah, I just put in the comments, don't try to guess Jason's age. But going now, just to the last thing we want to talk about, cryptocurrency. We got to talk about it. In regards to the Super Bowl, they dropped an ad actually
Don't
on the
show
Super
the
Bowl.
chart. Don't show the chart. People get sad right now.
And they had so many people that joined that their app actually wasn't working for a while. So that is crazy. They had how many people you think actually joined as like new customers just from that ad alone? Like that's crazy.
I have no idea, but cryptocurrency is something we should talk about more for young people because I think there's a lot of interest in it. And I actually think cryptocurrency is going to be a gateway to help people invest in the stock market because cryptocurrency is very volatile. So maybe some people can't handle that, but I don't think there's anything wrong with putting some of your money there. But I still think if you learn about, investing in what are called ETFs, exchange traded funds, and just buying like the total US stock market or even an S&P 500 fund or the total globe, very simple. If you just go to Vanguard and look at, total US stock market, total international, you could just get those and you can have thousands of stocks all in one fund. But this is a new field and it's a new asset class essentially that's becoming very interesting, and it's still pretty early. And I just did a workshop for my clients on the underlying technology of cryptocurrency, which is called blockchain. So blockchain to me is the really interesting part, and cryptocurrency is an application that is on the blockchain. So Bitcoin is like a bank on the blockchain, but blockchain is going to be able to be used for things like insurance contracts. Like you can, like, let's say you have a really rare car, like a super rare Ferrari or something like that. You can actually create what's called an NFT, a non-fungible token, and you could sell little pieces. You can invest in your car, and then you can own a piece of that. Fine wine, rare arts, even like real estate, right? So like a New York apartment, neither you or I or any of us anytime soon is going to be able to buy a $30 million apartment in New York. But if they turn that into an NFT, we can invest in that and participate in the growth. So I'm very interested in what this technology can bring. But currently, there's no official regulation. There's some regulation, but not like official. It's all going through the Congress right now. But this is going to be a field where a lot of things go to zero. But there's going to be a lot of opportunities to make some decent money here. And one statistic that I shared with my clients is that there's already more accounts on Coinbase than there are on Charles Schwab. Okay, for those of you who haven't heard of Charles Schwab, it's like the mega, like huge, big old, been around like 50 plus years. And it's a custodian where you can actually invest in things like mutual funds, stocks, ETFs there. Coinbase already has more accounts on it. Okay, so this is a big deal. But I don't think most people really understand what they're doing in cryptocurrency. So that's something you want to make sure you understand what you're doing. But this was a genius ad that they put up a QR code, right? Just bouncing around like the old DVD
Scan it.
symbol. and people scanned it and to get $15 in Bitcoin. So it's going to be a big deal.
Did you guys
Um,
see FTX commercial? I think that one was a little more funnier. I don't know if you guys know what that one was.
I
It
don't
was like this
remember.
the no? It was
Mm-mm.
trending a little bit on Twitter. It was like this old guy making fun of like past generations, how they would also make fun of technology. But this one was the most hype because their website crashed. Yeah, so that's why it
yeah,
made a lot of headlines. No, but
Yeah.
when you were talking about the crypto index fund, that's the only thing I wish there was. Like
there is.
I think in England there's one, but they don't allow it here in the U.S. still. An index fund where you could just, hey, I'm just gonna throw it on this that way. Because if you look back 2016, 2013, like all these big dates where there was these cryptocurrencies or these tokens or these companies in crypto, most of them went to zero or they're not even in the top 100, 200 anymore. They're like gone. So that's why a lot of people, I see it all the time on Twitter. If you buy this one, put $1,000, you'll be a millionaire in 5 years. And a lot of people fall for that. You see it time and time again. You've probably seen so many of people put those monies and then it goes to zero, and their reaction videos on Instagram and Twitter are hilarious. But a lot of people are going to get hurt because there's a lot of scams out there. That's why I wish there was something like an index fund. But you said that there is?
There is, yeah, and there's a lot more coming. So there are ones out there that basically. So here's where you can get a little technical. So I'm gonna try to not get it too technical. Like most people want to own Bitcoin itself so that they can like take it off in exchange and put it like in their cold wallet and keep it safe, right? But some people just want to invest in the growth of Bitcoin. So one of the actually, I don't know if I put it up here, but I have a stat on it. But the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is one of the, besides Tesla and another stock, it's the highest percentage of owned of fund by millennials. Okay, so Grayscale has some funds. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, they have Grayscale, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, and then there's a lot of ETFs that are focused on blockchain that actually have companies that. So, for example, MicroStrategy, okay, is a company. They're a tech company, been around a long time. They make about 500 million a year in profits from their tech product. But instead of keeping cash on their balance sheet, their CEO, Michael Saylor, decided to actually take their cash that they would normally have and put it in Bitcoin. So they have somewhere in the neighborhood of like $7 billion to $9 billion in Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And he just bought a bunch more recently. He's one of the top holders now of Bitcoin. But if you own that stock, in a fund, which there's a lot of funds that have that stock in it, you're still participating in that.
Mhm.
Same thing with Tesla. And so there's a lot of funds that if you just search, for funds, I can't really name too many specific ones. I already talked about Grayscale, but there are funds where you can participate, and there'll be a fund that has like the top 10 cryptos by market cap that you can participate. So it's not technically investing directly in it yet. You're right. They have been Canada, they have been other countries, but there's plenty of funds you can invest in now that are participating in cryptocurrency, or they're building out the blockchain economy, or they're investing in these services. So you're still getting involved there in a sort of an index style, like you said, where you can have a big basket of different things to where you're not putting all your money in, all your eggs in one basket. So, people have different views on it. Some people, they call them like Bitcoin maximalists. They only believe in Bitcoin, which I'm kind of there. There's other things that I think are good, but Bitcoin's a good one to have for the next 30, 50, 100,000 years, maybe possibly, but you're not going to make 1,000x return probably on it anymore like you can with some of these small ones. So what I would encourage anybody interested to learn is to just start small, put a small portion of your money in it, maybe 10%, 5%, 3%, like a small number, and just learn and watch and read, but keep 80%, keep 90% in traditional stocks and bonds, because that's not going to go to zero if you own the whole world, most likely, unless we go to World War III or something. And then only thing worth money is gold, bullets, and bottled water anyway, so nothing matters. But keep 80, 90% of your money there. Start with 5 or 10% and start learning, because this is going to be a big thing. But not only the coins, but invest in the companies that are working in this space, because they do have real tangible profits that you can, actually have value to them versus just strictly the coins themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, just to add to everything, the whole conversation we've been having, because I know the title is "How's our economy?" Let's talk about money. Overall, from the whole conversation we're having, everything. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Dollar cost average, invest, save to invest, and try out new things too. Like crypto's just a new thing that's barely being adopted, just like how when the internet era was being barely adopted. There's gonna be a lot of ones that might not work, and some that might work. And I mean, there was one guy that became a billionaire off the Shiba. So you might get lucky with stuff like that. But as long as you're doing the responsible stuff, you're still paying your bills, you're saving, investing, 401k, Roth IRA, all of that, and you have some extra play money. I mean, I don't think why not. As long as you're being responsible. And I think everyone here, I don't know if any of you guys want to have any final remarks or anything you want to add before we end, but it's been a good conversation. I know we talked about a lot of different topics, but overall it's all related to money and personal finance. And again, thanks to you, Junior, and Jason, for being here with us today. But I don't know, Jason, do you have any final remarks or anything you want to tell the audience? A lot of people want to know your age. No, I'm just kidding. They're interested now that you had what you said about the death, about the Snoop Dogg record that you had.
Oh, the tape? Yeah, yeah. No. Well, I'm 41, just so you know.
Oh.
That's how old I am. But so what, this is great to hear these conversations over and over, but the one thing I would say that I really hope people take away is that they will start doing something, like maybe they have a 401k at work and they, never signed up. Maybe a lot of people I talked to didn't even know they had them at work. So go talk to your human resources department, ask them, hey, do we have a retirement plan of some sort? What kind of retirement plan do we have? Do I get a match if I put money in? Because you might be giving up free money. There's so many companies that if you put in 5%, they'll put in 5%. That's a 100% return. That's a beautiful thing. So I just want people to get started. Um, I would also encourage, especially young people, not to get caught up in all this hype they're seeing on social media and all this get rich quick. Okay. Maybe
Hmm.
you do get rich quick because you picked the right coin, but I want you to think that you're setting a plan for yourself that if you're 20 years old, you're 25 years old, that by 50 or 55, and I know most people don't want to think about that. They want to be rich today, but just put in place a plan to where at least by 50 or 55, you're going to have enough money to do what you want to do and enjoy your life and be comfortable. Okay. Then that's with probably 80% of your money, 90%. Then you take that 10 to 20% and you put that towards something that is going to possibly do a little bit better than that. And maybe cryptocurrency is a thing. But my ultimate thing is take the example of the 26-year-old magician. Find the thing that is your magic. Okay, what are you magic with? What thing do you have that's special that you love to do, that like when you're doing this thing, like time just goes by, you don't even realize it, it's 4 hours later, and you didn't even pay attention. You didn't get hungry, you didn't get tired, and find a way to get paid for that thing. Okay, and put all your energy and all your effort into getting paid for that thing. And every time you make money, take a percentage of your money, maybe it's 10 or 20%, put it in your long-term investments, but everything else invest back into that thing until you're able to save maybe 10, 20, 30, 44% like this gentleman here. But you're working in your gift, because that is what's going to bring you the most fulfillment. And if you're just good at that and you do your best with that, you're going to have enough money to not only take care of yourself, but your cup's going to run over and you're going to be able to support other people. You're going to be able to give back to causes that are important to you, whether it's your church, nonprofits, or just helping people in your community. But if you just go work a job because you think it's going to pay you well, you're going to end up probably unhappy. You're going to end up in an office you don't want to be at, and you're going to end up in burnout. And that's going to take a lot longer to recover from. So do the right things with what you're handed today. So whatever you're getting paid today, do your budget, map out your money, create a plan like Dennis has right here. Do the best you possibly can with that. But then focus on doing what Dennis is doing as well, and finding that gift, something that you really love to do, and try to turn that into your career and control your income so they're not chasing another dollar an hour or something like that. You're getting paid for your talent, your skill, your advice, whatever it may be, your expertise, and you get paid by delivering your expertise versus staying another hour and the time you get stuck in a particular building. So that's what I would tell people to take away from today.
Yeah. And my only last thing would be just like, you're probably the first generation that's starting this, so that's why it might, like for me, that's what it feels like. We're going to start a different trend, and my kids, hopefully they learn about this much younger, that they're more capable to understand the world finances and have a head start. So if you're in that, where your parents, maybe they're immigrants or not from here, we're in the same boat. Reach out to us if you want help and how to manage. We can give you either papers, Excel spreadsheets to help you learn how to budget your finances, or also direct you to people that we know, that connections that can help you in whatever situation you need. So reach out to us, write us comments, and let us know how we can help you.
Yeah, our goal here is to break generational poverty, and we can through personal finance and educating our community, and that's what we do with the nonprofit. And I'm really happy that I think it's been 6.5 years since we started it. So I know we've touched a lot of people, we've helped a lot of people. Budgeting has been probably I know Jason, he was doing a lot of the one-to-one coaching with the families, and I think that's the biggest thing we've seen that helps people is budgeting. It really is cash flow management and be able
Yeah.
to be cash flow positive.
And here's what's interesting, right? For the people that think they can't do it, they can't save, they can't get started investing, is we had a 100% success rate,
Hmm.
and the average income of our families is about 50% of like the average income in Los Angeles, maybe a little bit higher than that, but it's less than 60%. So it is definitely possible. It just takes, sometimes like the way people's brains work when they're first starting this, like your brain can freeze because you're just like, it's just so much to think about. It's like trying to gather all your bills together. So what I encourage people to do is just take the first step, and just get a piece of paper out, not even go into an Excel sheet yet. Let's just get like a piece of paper, get your little notebook out, and just get all your bills out next to you and just write down all your minimum expenses of what you need to pay for everything. Then go back and check your bank and see, okay, how much did you spend on food in the last, 3 months on average, and then average that out per month and just see what you normally spend, and then look at what your paycheck is or what you take home and see if there's a difference there. Because most people there is, and even people with like lower incomes don't have $400 because they keep their bills really low. They live in like a cheap apartment. They don't have a car payment. And then that money, like you're going to probably wonder what happens to it. And most people it just disappears. Like it just somehow you give it away, or like it gets spent on food, or like just somehow it just disappears. But when you think about money as energy, and once you start focusing the energy of all that extra income that you're supposed to have, and you start intentionally putting it towards your goals, it will add up so fast. You'd be really surprised if you just really take the time to do that. And like Carlos said, this is where we have the coaches, we have people to come help you. So please just like reach out. This is what we're here to do. We're here to serve, and we want to change your life so then you can change other people's lives, because that's how it works. We'll invest to you, and then you'll help your friends and your family, and then it goes out like a spider web, and it becomes a just huge impactful thing. So please reach out, because we have the resources and want to help you out. And I know for a fact you can do it if you just get the right assistance and the right guidance.
Hmm. Definitely agree with you, and agree with you too, Junior. We're breaking things that probably our parents never done before, and we're the first ones to do it. So thank you, both of you. A lot of wisdom was shared today. A lot of great advice and tips, and just a good dialogue that we had today. I know it was longer than usual, but it was a good conversation. We had a lot of different topics we talked about, but I'm really happy to have all three of us here together talking about this as brothers, talking about finances. We're talking about money. How is, let's talk about money, just like the title says right there. But without further ado, just thank you to everyone who joined. Please be sure to share this video with your friends and family. That way you can empower other people as well. And if you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below. And we will see you next week. We have workshops. We have our Let's Talk About Money every single week. We'll say, take care, everybody.